Welcome back to the Explainer. So, if you've ever felt like learning a new language is just this massive mountain of textbook grammar rules and confusing vocabulary, well, you are definitely in the right place. Today, we're taking what can honestly be a pretty stressful language barrier and transforming it into an incredibly accessible everyday skill. We're going to look at a highly practical scenario straight from our source material to show you exactly how natural communication flows. So get comfortable and let's unlock the secrets of casual conversation. Now, do you understand a real English conversation? I want you to truly ask yourself that. It's one thing to read isolated sentences in a textbook, right? But catching the rhythm of people talking in real time, that is the true test. Real conversation isn't just about memorizing vocabulary. It's about your processing speed. It's hearing a phrase, grasping the cultural intent behind it, and firing back a response without missing a single beat. I'm hitting you with this challenge right up front to kind of test your current comprehension. But hey, don't worry if you're feeling a bit hesitant. By the end of this explainer, I promise the mechanics behind these everyday interactions are going to be perfectly clear. All right, so let's dive into the immersion, hallway talk. Imagine two students, let's call them student A and student B, just catching up in a busy school hallway. Let's listen closely to the flow of this everyday scenario. Hi, how are you today? And student B responds, I'm good, thanks. How about you? This is literally the absolute baseline of the conversation. Notice how smooth and polite it is. Sociologically speaking, this is known as phatic communication. These aren't just random words meant to exchange deep, complex information. No, they're social bonding tools. They acknowledge the other person's presence and set up a really friendly atmosphere before diving into anything heavier. It's basically the universal key to opening a friendly exchange. Building on that, student A says, I'm a little tired. I stayed up late studying for the math test. And student B relates instantly, saying, oh, me too. That test was really hard. Now, this exchange is actually super fascinating from a psychological perspective. Notice how quickly they connect over a shared struggle. Complaining about a universally difficult task, like, say, a grueling math test, is a highly effective way to bond. Sharing that relatable challenge instantly creates empathy and this sort of in-group feeling between them. It completely transforms them from just two people passing in a hallway into allies surviving the exact same obstacle. Then, checking in, student A asks, yeah, but I think I did okay. Did you finish all the questions? Student B replies, not all of them. I got stuck on the last one. This right here is a perfect example of a natural conversational pivot. They're moving from this broad, emotional statement about being tired straight into the specific, logical details of how they did. Plus, student B introduces just a tiny bit of vulnerability here by admitting they couldn't finish. That little bit of honesty, that's what keeps the conversation totally authentic and grounded. Instantly, student A jumps in with a comforting update. Don't worry, the teacher said she will give us another chance. Boom. This completely diffuses the stress of the previous moment. It shows you exactly how to deliver good news to a worried friend. Psychologically, student A is providing emotional anchoring here. They recognize the vulnerabilities student B just shared about not finishing, and they immediately throw them a lifeline. That is exactly how you build deep conversational trust. Reacting to that good news, student B says, that's great. And then, watch this. They completely shift gears. By the way, are you going to the soccer game after school? Student A responds, yes, of course. Our team is playing against Central High. The transition here is honestly brilliant. Once the academic stress is resolved and that psychological relief hits, it just naturally opens the door for social seeking. They seamlessly transition from stressing out about grades straight into planning a really exciting social event. And to wrap things up, student B suggests, awesome, let's go together. Student A agrees, sure, see you later in class. And they part ways with a quick, see ya. It's a perfect, friendly conclusion. There's actually a predictable rhythm to how we end interactions as humans. A mutual agreement on future plans, followed by standard, friendly goodbyes. It just ensures both people leave the conversation feeling validated and socially secure. Okay, so let's break it down. We've seen the scenario, so now let's meticulously dissect the English mechanics we just witnessed. We want to understand not just what they said, but exactly how they said it, so you can start using these frameworks yourself. Looking at the direct translations, our opening English greeting, hi, how are you today, translates perfectly to hola, ¿cómo estás hoy? I really want to emphasize how incredibly simple it is to initiate an interaction. There's no complex grammar to decode here. It's literally a direct one-to-one mapping of a standard, polite greeting. This is your foundation. Because these greetings are so universal across cultures, your cognitive load is incredibly low.
You don't have to overthink it at all. You just initiate the connection. Now, when expressing a slightly more complex thought, like I stayed up late studying, the equivalent is me quedé despierto hasta tarde estudiando. This is fantastic because it shows you exactly how to express past actions combined with a reason for being tired. You aren't just giving a flat, boring statement like, I am tired. Instead, you're painting a narrative picture of cause and effect. Mastering this specific phrasing adds instant color, context, and detail to your everyday English. It's a total game changer. Another really crucial point is understanding the phrase got stuck. When student B couldn't finish that last question, it's absolutely vital to know this is a non-literal idiom. It means to be trapped or unable to solve a problem, not that they were literally glued to their desk. Understanding conversational intent over literal translation is exactly what takes you from an absolute beginner to a fluent speaker. Cultural shorthand like this is everywhere in English, and recognizing these idioms lets you grasp the emotional weight of a sentence immediately.
And here we have an absolute essential. Don't worry, or no te preocupes. Whenever you see someone stressing over a test or a difficult situation, this is your go-to phrase. It's short, it's sweet, and it's the perfect way to offer reassurance and empathy. We naturally seek comfort during stressful conversational pivots, right? So deploying a de-escalation phrase like this makes you an incredibly supportive and fluid communicator. Zooming out for a second, we've looked at the specific phrases, but look at the underlying anatomy of the conversation. It follows a perfectly simple 4-step template. Step 1, the greeting. Step 2, the topic or any shared interest. Step 3, the invitation to do something. And step 4, the goodbye. Human brains actually love predictable social scripts because they drastically reduce social anxiety. By internalizing this structure, you don't have to memorize a rigid dialogue. You just follow the template. You can swap out the math test for a work project or the soccer game for grabbing a coffee, and suddenly you can reuse this framework literally anywhere. Synthesizing everything we've learned gives us a highly practical conversation toolkit. You now have the phrases for greetings to start a chat, the vocabulary for discussing daily tasks like schoolwork, and the wording needed to invite someone out to an activity. Categorizing your knowledge like this makes for much quicker mental retrieval during a fast-paced chat. This right here is the core of everyday socializing. It's concise, it's practical, and it's totally ready for you to use out in the real world. And that brings us to the most important part of this explainer, your turn to practice. The source material we base this on makes it abundantly clear. Reading about language is great, but speaking it out loud is how you forge true fluency. Neuroplasticity requires active, real-world use. So take these phrases out into the real world. And hey, if you found this breakdown helpful and you like this structured way of learning, please remember to support this explainer by liking, subscribing, and sharing it with anyone who might be trying to level up their English.
I want to leave you with one final, very important question. Who will you practice your first English conversation with today? Don't wait for tomorrow. Think of a friend, a classmate, or a colleague right now. Take that 4-step template, use your new toolkit, and take immediate action. Thank you so much for joining me today. Keep practicing, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.